For some, it may be difficult to imagine that Yablunska Street, a quiet street in the Kyiv suburb of Bucha, only 2 years ago was strewn with bodies. It was here that Russian occupation forces carried out zachystka, or cleansing. They went door to door, taking away at gunpoint anyone deemed to be a threat. At the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the Russians quickly took control of the affluent Kyiv suburb. And from February 27th to March 31st, Ukraine alleges, they committed over 9,000 war crimes, including kidnappings and rape, torture and murder. A wall of remembrance has since been erected, bearing the names of 509 people murdered in Bucha, including 37 children. Bucha was the first, but not the last, or even the largest place that Ukraine would liberate and discover mass graves and torture sites. A lot has changed since Bucha's liberation. Much has been repaired, rebuilt, and modernized. This is how it looked in 2022, and what it looks like now. But for many locals, the terror of what they underwent remains fresh in their minds. Bullet holes remain in the side of a supply depot that was the site of a mass shooting. Locals created a small memorial here. It's kept clean and tidy. Sometimes, the Russians seem to kill for no reason or barely a reason. This was the case with Bucha resident Sergei Zaluchkov's friend.
Вийшов перекурити, а їхали рашики на вешки. Командир там махнув рукою, щоб зайшов. Той махнув, що ти хочеш. Ну і взяли та застрелили.
Nearly everyone on Yablunska Street has a friend, relative, or acquaintance who was murdered during the Russian occupation.
Чоловік допомагав, був в окупації, допомагав, дуже допомагав всім тим, хто сиділи там в підвалах. Він їхав за водою, він їхав, допомагав, там якісь ліки, якесь щось, їду. Він це все в підвали носив. А його предупредили, що він не ходив, не їздив, і його розстріляли.
The Russians broke through her fence and took over her house on Yablunska Street, only 500 meters from the site of a mass execution.
Нас 2 рази виводили на розстріл. Вони питали мене, а де Зеленський? А я кажу, вибачте, а де Зеленський? А я кажу, що йому мама, тьотя, я ж йому не родичка. Ви все знаєте, ви подлі, ви тварі, ви українці, ви фашисти, ви нас на Донбасі, наших ребят убиваєте. І один був кадировцем, він зайшов в хату, бурят питає його, що з ними робити, а він кричить, в розход. І пішов сюди. Заханув в розход, це значить, нас треба розстріляти.
The family was saved when someone decided to cancel the orders for reasons unknown. Richard Baczynski, a Ukrainian-born Canadian who's lived in Bucha for the last 10 years, witnessed the initial defense of the suburb as the Russians advanced.
Then we could hear the battle going in the distance, getting closer and closer and closer. Then the bridges got blown and we were trapped. We couldn't get out of here. We had no car, and thank God we didn't have a car at the time because we might have got shot. In the morning, I went over here to Bucha Varda guys, friends of mine. They're the defenders of the city, and there was about 15 of them and volunteers because we had no help. We had no ammunition, nothing. And a friend of mine, Petro, he's a ex-polkovnik in the army. He threw a Molotov over here to BTR and destroyed it, right over here beside where my son went to school, number 5. What happened over here, I didn't see it, but I found out through other security guards that I've known over the years that know me by name, and every day I see them have coffee and whatever. They said that the security guard was shot in the back by a Russian because they tried to escape and get underground in the basement, and he couldn't make it. So they shot him in the back and killed him. And a taxi driver too that we had known for years that parked outside every day, really nice guy named Vasya. I found out when I came back from Canada and Poland when we evacuated that they took his life too, and he was he was shot by a BTR or a tank and burnt alive in his taxi, and his guy that he was helping in his car escaped. A lady over here behind this building here, she was hit by a mine, artillery. She was bringing water to help somebody. Another young lady that serves coffee, she was shot in the leg over there in the park.
Bucha residents like Baczynski had trouble finding food. They scavenged wherever they could. Baczynski would make scavenging runs and share the food. One time, he helped make a little girl's birthday better.
She had nothing for her birthday, this little girl, and singing happy birthday. And I said, you got no cake? Can you mais tort? She goes, nie. Chikai. I remember when I went into McDonald's, they give donuts once in a while with little sparkles on them. And that was her birthday cake. And you could hear the artillery I'm talking about and the ground shake. And she was like that. And I said, they're celebrating your birthday. Don't you worry about that. Everybody's celebrating your birthday today. And they had their donuts. So to me, that's a moment that I'll never forget.
But making these kinds of trips was dangerous.
I brought out a last load, and two Russians came out from behind here with guns, and they chased me. And I just had a little bit in my arms, and I ran into the building. My knee was torn out, my arm was torn out from carrying a lot of luggage down the step, but I pushed as hard as I could to get out of there. I went into an alleyway around behind the building. They were at this side, so there's probably, I'd say 80 meters or 70 meters between us. And I was close to the alleyway near our meat store, and went into my door. So when if they had come into the alleyway, they would be confused about, there's about 6 doors, entrances, different buildings. So I got away, but I thought I was going to take it in the back, and that was the end of my life. I mean, I was seeing death as I was running.
Memorial posters in Bucha now display some of those who died attempting to defend it.
Vladimir Kowalski, he had 2 prosthetic legs, veteran of ATO, superhero of Ukraine, warrior. He fought back even with prosthetic legs. I met him when he came back from the war zone from ATO, from the Donbass. We became friends. I found out about his death when I came back. He took up arms and fought back, but the Russians took him down. He was a real hero. Ihor Dikivsky, my very good friend, funniest guy in the world, good kickboxer. We became friends here. We recalled each other in Maidan. He took an igla and said, I'm going to go, I want to take out a tank by myself. So he went tank hunting, a Russian tank. He really wanted to take out a Russian tank, but he died in action. They found him tied up, hands behind his back, executed, shot in the back of his head.
Along with Bucha, the Russians occupied cottage towns nearby, like Vorzel, a rural village. Vera Hoychuk, a doctor, couldn't escape. Russian soldiers came into her home.
Він казав, а чого нас окупантами називають? А я кажу, от подивись, от я мала, наприклад, 24 лютого, я мала завести дітей у школу, їхати в клініку до своїх пацієнтів, все. І подивись зараз, я стою, того будинку немає, я стою, немає ні світла, нічого, ходити десь якось заборонено, бо тут ваші снайпера сидять, я ходжу в пов'язку, в будь-який момент хтось з вас може прийти, скривдити мене, зґвалтувати мене, моїх дітей, все. І хто ви після цього? Він такий пом'явся, такий, ну да.
Wojciech was ordered to wear a white ribbon.
І вони сказали, одягніть, будь ласка, білу пов'язку, це значить, що ми вас перевірили і вас не пристрелять. У мене була якась асоціація, що це як концтабір. А потім, коли підійшов до мене хлопець, як зараз пам'ятаю, молодий, років 20. І такий підійшов з мене з цим автоматом і такий каже, будь ласочка, одягніть цю пов'язку, ми нормальні. Там, говорить, нахрен відморозки. Якщо вони побачать цивільну людину без білої пов'язки, вас просто застрелять. І після цього я вже вділа і носила. І я, і діти, і тато.
Wojciech said that the Russians killed 5 of her neighbors. On March 31st, 2022, the Ukrainian army liberated Bucha and the surrounding areas. Wojciech and both of her children survived the occupation and have repaired their home. The city of Bucha has been mostly rebuilt, and many of the residents that evacuated have returned. They try to live normal lives, though the trauma of their experience may never leave them.